Shalom. Call Haluyam La Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Kodash. Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai, Brakatah Rachak Kodash, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Kodash. Shalom and double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elder bishops and the elders and the Akim and Akwathium of the hopeful elect. Shalom. Want to go into a quick video here entitled Trump's Unhappy with Iran's Selection for Supreme Leader. And that's the headline of this title right here of this article. It says what Trump says he's not happy with Iran's choice of new supreme leader because this devil had the nerve to think that, to say in a previous interview that he believes that they should have a say-so in their next leader. And so right there showed their hand. Their main playbook is to do what? Kill a government's leader, and sabotage the government of another nation, and then do what? Install their own puppet leader, right? That's what Trump meant when he said that they should have a say-so, have influence on who their next leader of Iran is. And so now, they basically gave Trump the middle finger and chose the son of the guy that they killed, right? The supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, right? And so he's unhappy with that. And that's biblical precepts, that goes into why he's upset too. So it says President Donald Trump said he is not happy with Iran's choice of a new supreme leader, but that early results from Operation Epic Fury have been way beyond expectation, quote unquote. Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the late Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was installed as the next supreme leader. It says, I don't believe he can live in peace, Trump said in an interview with Fox News chief foreign correspondent Trey Yingst. So this is a developing story. Please check back for updates. So this was a quick hit article right here. That's all it, just touched on, updating the people on Trump's opinion about what he feels about the next leader for Iran, right? Supreme leader, as they call him, right? That's basically their president, or basically their dictator, that's going to be the ruler for however long, because basically a king, right? Because now it's like the bloodline. The ancient kings of had their bloodline step in their stead, right, and take over once they died. And that's similar to what happened right here. And Trump is very unpleased with that because why? He will not lean toward the Western poison and toxicity of Western influence, right? Because that's the only goal of the West, is to influence the East with their toxic whoredom, that destroys their economy, that destroys their women, make them become whores, destroy their households, and then also install what? Homosexuality, So let's get this right quick as well. And that remind me, he said that they won't be in peace, right? So let's get this right here. It says right here, Gamal Abdel Nasser. This was back in like the 1940s, I believe, in 1952. Okay, it says second president of the United Arab Republic, formerly president of the Republic of Egypt. And down here at the bottom it says what? The Europeans claiming to be Jews are nothing more than Hebrew-speaking Gentiles. He let you know from the get-go that these people are Europeans. That's claiming the small hats over there now, claiming to be the Jews. They were Europeans that came over and stole the identity of the true Jews. Those are they're from German ancestry, and they're Ashkenazi Jews, and so they're of Edomite descent. The late president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, stated on television, "You, the Jews, will never be able to live here in peace," and that's similar to what Trump said, because it's basically going to always be at war because they're fighting to maintain a lie of a false identity. And they, and from the eastern side and then the western side, they don't want strong Eastern values, strict philosophy to rule that region, because they're trying to overtake it with the Western poison. So it says, you Jews will never be able to live here in peace because you left here black. but came back white. We cannot accept you. So that was a very, very, exposing remark he made right there, right? Because he said they came back. First, he said that they are Europeans that's claiming to be Jews, and then also said what the true Jews, they left black. How did they leave? They know the earth know the true Jews are the ones that went into slavery on those slave ships, right? So-called black, so-called African Americans, right? They left here black, but came back white. So when we went to captivity, got sold by the Hamites, so-called Africans, the true Africans, right? But they're Hamites. They rounded us up and helped the European, the so-called white man, round us up and sold us into slavery on those cargo slave ships and stuffed us in those slave ships and sent us over here to the Western Hemisphere. So we left like that. That's how we left. And then we left black, so-called black, but we the true Jews, the Southern Kingdom. And then the people came back, claimed that they are the Jews. They came back leprous. They're not white. They have no pigment. That's the curse of Cain. The lack of melanin in their skin. They got stripped of their melanin, and that's how they know. That's how you know who the wicked of the earth is. And he said, we cannot accept you. So they were going to be at war forever. And this is information on Ayatollah's Khomeini's son, that's now the new supreme leader that stepped into the stead of his father, right? It says Mojtaba Khomeini, as of March 2026, is considered a successor who represents strict continuity with his late father. You see, and that's egg on Trump's face, and that Netanyahu, not a Jew, leader of the Israelis, because they thought that they were going to be able to take because Trump said this is an opportunity for Iran to seize, to select someone that would be, more lenient, like basically saying they want somebody to be Western friendly, but they got slapped in the face and picking a guy that's even more strict than his dad, just like his dad, but even more strict. It says Ayatollah Ali Khamenei likely steering the Iranian regime towards more hardline, repressive, and ideologically rigid policies. While his father was a known orator and intellectual, Mojtaba is a shadowy, influential figure with deeper, direct ties to the IRGC. You see, he's even more, entrenched and rooted in the IRGC. And what is that? Right here it says the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, also known as the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, is a multi-service primary branch of the Iranian Armed Forces. And so the Iranian Armed Forces, so he's even more involved with them. And he's in his prime too, because Ayatollah say as you get older, you get lenient in your they say you get weak and get soft in your old age, right? So now they got a man in his prime, and he's even more entrenched in with the IRGC and the Iranian Armed Forces. And so he's going to double down on his dad's policies, right? He's even more strict. So right here it says political ideology. Experts consider Mojtaba even more hardline than his father. You see, he's even more hardcore than his dad. Likely to pursue a more aggressive and domestic foreign policy. So they're going to get even more aggressive. And he is described as a deeply anti-American and anti-Western ideologue. So he's even more anti-American and anti-Western than even his dad. So Trump looking stupid, and that's why he's upset. He's not happy with it, because he realized, oh man, so this isn't going to end no time soon. He's going to any son is going to want to avenge, their dad that was killed, But the Israelites wait for the Messiah to return at the time Yahweh appoints, right? So the Most High rise up to the prey, aka the heathen. Background. Like his father, he has a background in Islamic theology, having taught at seminaries and Qom. So he's highly educated in their religion and practices as well, right? So he's going to continue the old ways of his dad, and even more intensely. So, Trump, he already know that this is going to mean that this is not. They thought they was going to be able to bomb, just like they kidnapped the Venezuelan president over there, and thought they were going to try to install a puppet government over there. And that's what they've done throughout history, just like they did Saddam Hussein, right, in Iraq. They kidnapped. I mean, they took them down, and they did what had, and their people hung Saddam Hussein, and they installed a more. I gotta do some research on that. I believe that their government is more Western friendly, right? And probably, I believe, installed the U.S. dollar over there as well. So that's all it's about, just trying to influence the Eastern kings, try to infect them with the Western philosophies. And the Iran's former supreme leader, Ayatollah, he was against the West, with Russia, the modern day Persians, the Iranians, right? And then now his son is even more entrenched and even deeper, because it's the end times. The end times going to ramp up even more. So it makes sense. It's only fitting that his son is, even more so, even more hardcore than his dad, And Trump is grieved by that, because that's what happens with the wicked, They're grieved in these situations, and it's in the Bible. Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus chapter 30 and we'll start at verse 1. It says here, he that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod. That means what? Often to feel. That means if a man love his son, he's going to often spank him with the belt, right? That he may have joy of him in the end. Because why? It corrects him in his youth. He's teaching him up young, so when he grows older, he knows the right ways of how to behave and be respectful to his parents and to, all of his peers and elders, outside. Verse 2, he that chastiseth his son shall have joy in him, and shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy. And that's the point there. And this is why Trump is what? He's unhappy. He's grieved. Why? Because Ayatollah Khamenei, he taught his son the ways of himself and of what he believed in, which is the roots of his country, right? Of their religion and everything. And so and now his son, he taught his son up, and his son's going to follow the same exact footsteps of his dad, and he's even more intense than his dad. And that grieves and makes Trump unhappy, because he already knows it's going to be more of the same, and even more of the same, even more hardcore. So he that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. So, his dad, the dad that raised his sons up the proper way, he's going to rejoice in them amongst his friends. Because why? His son's going to be well instructed and well ordered and respectful and walking in the right way. Be a very respectful, obedient child. A grown man as well that pay proper reference to his parents, his dad and mother, right? Verse 4, though his father die, yet he is as though he were not dead. You see, because why? He's going to be, his son going to, it said right there in that screenshot, that it's going to be the same continuity of the previous regime. Yet he is yet he is as though he were not dead, for he hath left one behind him that is like himself. So it's basically like a split image, right? And that's spiritual, that's even greater. The greatest example is Yahushua, the direct reflection of Yahweh, right? He's the most high power of Yahweh in the flesh, right? And he's the word made flesh, the words of Yahweh made flesh. That's who Yahushua is. And so it's the same thing, right? Because Yahweh taught his only begotten son, Yahushua, he gave him the spirit without measure, right? And so he was the walking, the living, the fleshly version, the fleshly, the manifestation in the spirit, in the flesh of the spirit of Yahweh, right? It says, yet he is as though he were not dead, for he hath left one behind him that is like himself. So verse 5, While he lived, he saw and rejoiced in him. And when he died, he was not sorrowful. Meaning what? When he went to his deathbed, he knew that he wasn't sorrowful and wasn't worried about his son that he's leaving behind, because he knows that he's taught up the right way and everything's going to continue smoothly because he's properly taught, right? So he wasn't sorrowful. Now, a father that doesn't teach his son right, and his son's out of order and out of control and wicked, he's going to go to his bed sorrowful. But not a man that teaches his son and that's in order, right? Verse 6, he left behind him an avenger against his enemies. So this his son, he's an avenger. Ayatollah Khomeini's son, the new Iranian supreme leader. He's like an avenger because he's going to continue in his dad's steps, and he understand. He already, of course, he knows what happened to his dad, right? So that's how he's going to be an avenger, and not happy about what happened to his old man, right? So and one that shall requite kindness to his friends. So he's going to be an avenger against his enemies, his dad's enemies, and he's going to be cool with his dad's friends. So he's going to be an enemy to his dad's enemies and a friend to his dad's friends. So that's why Trump is unhappy with Iranians, selection for his new supreme leader, because he thought he was going to be able to just kill the leader of Iran, and they was going to install a puppet, Western-friendly new supreme leader of Iran, and destroy them from within that way. But that was, Trump looking like an idiot now, looking stupid, and he's upset about it. But it's all end time prophecies. The Most High prophecies are going to come to pass no matter what. The Edomites, the Western Hemisphere, the whore, they're trying to subvert and overcome biblical prophecy, them and the little hats, leading a charge. They're trying to overcome biblical prophecy, but they never will, They only made it worse for themselves by them getting rid of their older supreme leader of Iran, and they selected a younger, more rigorous and a more aggressive version of the man that they killed, that they murdered, right? So verse 9, Joel 3 and 9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. And that's what we're doing. We're proclaiming this among the Gentiles, that it's time for them to wake up, and it's time for that World War III. They're coming up to where? The Valley of Jehoshaphat, that they call it, right? The Valley of Yahweh's decision, over there in the so-called Middle East. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And the Iranians, they've been weak for a long time, and they've been in league with the Russians, but they've gotten built up to a level as well, and they have their thermonuclear missiles that they're going to shoot off as well. They're saying that they're strong now, right? They're fighting against America. They're not afraid of America anymore because they have a means to fight back, and they got the backing of the modern day Medes, which are the Russians, the bear that's is the guard of all of them, with China and everyone else over there, those Eastern allies. Verse 12, let the heathen be wakened, come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there I will sit to judge all the heathen round about. And that's in the area of the Levant over there, the area of the Euphrates River that's dried up, So the Most High is about to judge them. It's all going too smoothly. I say too smoothly, but I say that it's going, in perfect sequence of the Holy Scriptures. So verse 16, the Lord Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, also shall roar out of Zion. That's where the Most High resides. His power. He rests his power within Israel, his chosen people, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. But the Lord Yahweh will be the hope of his people, and the earth shall shake. Why? Because of those thermonuclear missiles, those bombs going to drop on the heathen, right? But and so while he's doing that, he's letting us know, because it's a terrifying judgment that's coming. But the Most High, in the same breath, letting us know that he's going to be merciful and protect the Israelites, the elect, right? But the Lord Yahweh will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel, right? So don't fear about the judgments coming down upon the earth and all of the aftermath of it, right? Our sun getting darkened, getting blotted out because of the bombs and the missiles and the clouds. But the hope of Israel will be that they are protected from it all. Verse 17. So shall ye know that I am the Lord Yahweh, your power, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her anymore. You see, because right now strangers are over there fighting for the land. The the small hats and the and Palestine, right? They say free Palestine. Well, the Most High is going to free our land of all the heathen that are the strangers that are passing through her right now. That's part of our land. That's part of the Heavenly Father's promised land, right? Verse 18. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and a fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord Yahweh. And that chief fountain is who? Yahweh Shai, because he that believeth on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of everlasting waters. I'm roughly paraphrasing, but the one fountain is from Yahweh through his son Yahweh Shai. And shall water the valley of Shittim. So the earth is going to be replenished through the leadership, through the rulership of Yahweh, through his son that he anointed, right? Yahweh Shai. And the earth is going to be healed through the righteous being in rulership. Verse 19. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. And who is Edom? The small hats claiming to be the Jews over there, and so-called white race, the Europeans, all of them, right? Russia as well. So Egypt and Edom. You see, Edom is mentioned as in the same sentence with Egypt. Why? Because Edom, they're the modern day Egyptians, and Egypt is now. We went into slavery again. We went to Egypt again with ships, and that's over here in America. America's going to be a desolate wilderness. Why? Because it's going to get those missiles bombing to smithereens. And why the Most High is going to do this to the so-called white race? For the violence against the children of Judah. You see that the transatlantic slave trade over here, and also the Northern Kingdom as well, though, all 12 tribes. Because they have shed innocent blood in their land, you see. They shed the innocent blood of all the 12 tribes everywhere, and also they kicked us out of our land when they were the Romans in 70 AD, took us into captivity. We got sold by the so-called Africans, took our land, which sold us into slavery in 15 and 1600s, right? 1619 is when it began. So, it's a lot of evil that they've done to us, and it's not been repaid yet, but it's about to be. Verse 20. But Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. And that's going to what? Judah, the southern kingdom, Jerusalem, northern kingdom. Upon particular context, when we read the scriptures, it's talking about southern kingdom and northern kingdom, and Jerusalem representing the northern kingdom in this instance. See, generation to generation, and show you too what we're going to have children. What's the generation? Children. Verse 21. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed. For the Lord Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, dwelleth in Zion. You see, our blood has been shed, but we have not received. The Most High has not, revenged our enemies yet, and we're not to do it ourselves. We're patiently waiting, and everything's unfolding perfectly according to the scriptures and the prophecies. And so, and how do you cleanse the land? And we'll get that real quick. Numbers chapter 35 and verse 33. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are. And the so-called white man has shed innocent blood, and he's polluted the land. The Most High, that's a commandment. The Most High said, don't pollute the land. But Esau, he pollutes the land everywhere he goes. For blood it defileth the land. So earth is defiled because there's shed blood everywhere, especially of the Israelites by the so-called white man. And the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. So you see, they say forget about slavery is in the past. They only want you to do that so that they can continuously be evil and wicked and shed our blood perpetually without any kind of recompense. And the Most High says what? The earth is not. They say forget about slavery. They trying to cleanse the blood that way by saying with a vain, hateful words of saying forget about that, right? But the Most High said that the earth cannot be cleansed. The land that's defiled by bloodshed, it can be cleansed. So this land of America, Babylon the Great, is not cleansed. And the only way it's going to be cleansed is by the blood of him that shed it. So the Most High is letting us know, when you shed innocent blood, it's mandatory that you cleanse it with your own blood, So that's biblical prophecy as to Heavenly Father's righteous judgment upon the wicked. And so that's why Trump, he's unhappy, with Iran's selection. But there's nothing he can do, Biblical prophecy is going to go forth no matter what. So I hope this video is edifying. The water to the Hakwadash Basham. Yahweh Shai for another video. Till next video I say, Shalom.